Do you ever feel like your soul is wandering far from the peace it was made for? Have you ever wondered why the smallest things in your day seem to affect your spirit so deeply? What if the difference between feeling distant from God and feeling held by Him was hidden in 9 small, almost invisible actions? The truth is whispered quietly in the heart, so quietly that most people never stop long enough to hear it. And yet, the smallest movements of love can draw a soul closer to heaven than the greatest achievements ever could. Saint Thérèse of Lisieux. Before we continue, take a moment to subscribe if you wish to walk the little way with us. There is something profoundly disarming about the spiritual path of Saint Thérèse of Lisieux. She does not begin with thunder, visions, or extraordinary feats. She begins with a childlike heart, with simplicity, with the courage to be small in a world that worships everything grand. Block by block, this journey will unveil the 9 small actions that, when done with love, lift the soul gently upward, like the flame of a candle rising toward God. But first, before we enter the list, we must understand something essential. Saint Thérèse believed that every small gesture, every hidden moment of kindness, every silent offering made in the shadows of ordinary life becomes a golden thread stitching the soul to heaven. She once said, "I can no longer fear a God who made himself so small for me. I love him." For her, spiritual greatness was not found in heroic sacrifices, but in transforming the smallest moment into an act of deep love. Imagine this with her eyes: a cup gently washed, a harsh word held back, a smile offered when you feel tired, a small pain accepted without complaint, a quiet thank you whispered to God before bed, a small task done without seeking praise. These are not impressive in the eyes of the world, but in heaven's language, they shout love. Thérèse believed that God bends low toward the humble, toward those who do not try to shine, but simply try to love. She saw the spiritual life as a staircase too high for her small feet, so she trusted in God's arms to lift her up. And this is the secret: your soul rises not by force, but by gentle, intentional love. In the next block, we will begin revealing the first of these 9 small actions, and why they carry more spiritual fire than most people ever imagine. Before revealing the first action, Saint Thérèse invites us to slow our breathing, just enough to notice what usually passes by unseen, because the little way does not begin with doing more. It begins with seeing differently. The first small action, offering the ordinary moment. Most souls wait for the right moment to approach God, a calmer season, a freer schedule, a holier mood. But Saint Thérèse teaches the opposite: offer what is happening now, nothing more, nothing less. She believed that every ordinary moment is a seed, and when offered to God, even silently, it becomes a pathway toward heaven. Imagine this. You wake up feeling tired. You wash your face, you prepare breakfast, you take a small walk, or you open your window to let the light in. These simple gestures seem insignificant, but when you whisper in your heart, "Lord, I offer this to you," the entire moment transforms. Thérèse once said that God's love is attracted to the smallest movements of trust, not to the size of the action, but to the heart behind it. She discovered that heaven bends lowest when we offer the smallest things. She called these hidden offerings her little sacrifices, not painful, dramatic sacrifices, but gentle ones, accepting a delay without irritation, doing a task you dislike without complaining, letting someone else speak first, smiling when you prefer silence, whispering, "Jesus, I'm here," in the middle of your day. In her eyes, these were not minor gestures. They were gold coins placed in God's hand. And here is the mystery that she knew so deeply. When you offer something small with sincere love, your soul becomes more beautiful, more free, more aligned with heaven. The world teaches that greatness comes from scale. Thérèse teaches that greatness comes from intention. This first small action is the foundation of the other 8, because once your ordinary life becomes an offering, your entire day becomes a prayer. The smallest breath can carry love. The smallest step can move you toward God. The smallest moment can shape eternity. In the next block, we will explore the second small action, a gesture that Thérèse believed could disarm pride and awaken humility with surprising gentleness. The second small action, choosing the humble place. Saint Thérèse believed that humility was not something loud or dramatic. It was not a painful humiliation, nor a harsh denial of one's worth. For her, humility was simply choosing the lower place with peace, the way a child naturally sits on the small chair rather than the throne. She once said, "To be little is to recognize our nothingness, to expect everything from God." And this became the quiet backbone of her entire little way. But what does choosing the humble place look like in an ordinary day? It looks like letting another person take the credit, taking the last seat instead of the first, doing a hidden task no one will praise you for, apologizing first even if the other person should too, listening more than speaking, and gently accepting your imperfections without despair. For Thérèse, humility was freedom, not obligation. A soul becomes small not by force, but by an inner softness that allows God to be big inside it. Picture a scene from her convent life. She noticed a sister who irritated her deeply, a sister she found difficult to love. Yet instead of avoiding her, she chose the humble place. She smiled at her, helped her, offered her a quiet kindness. Not because she felt naturally inclined, but because she wanted to love the way Jesus loved. And she hid this effort so deeply that the sister once said, "I don't understand why she loves me so much." That is humility, not announcing holiness, but practicing quiet tenderness in secret places. Thérèse understood something we often forget. The proud heart becomes heavy, the humble heart becomes light, and a light heart rises more easily toward heaven. When you choose the humble place, a spiritual door opens. God steps closer. Your soul becomes spacious enough for grace to breathe. Humility is not a punishment. It is a return to childlike peace. This second small action softens the heart, untangles pride, and prepares the soul to love more freely. In the next block, we will unfold the third small action, a gesture so gentle and so subtle that most people overlook its power entirely. The third small action, doing a hidden kindness without being seen. There is a certain kind of love that heaven notices instantly, the kind that no one else sees. Saint Thérèse believed that the most powerful acts of love were the ones performed quietly, away from praise, far from applause, deep in the secret places of daily life. For her, hidden kindness was not just a virtue, it was a language, the language of souls who love God more than recognition. She once wrote, "A single act of hidden charity is worth more than 1,000 brilliant deeds done for human eyes." To her, heaven leans close when a person chooses to love silently. But what does this look like in your everyday life? It looks like picking up something someone dropped without mentioning it, doing a chore no one wants and telling no one you did it, praying quietly for a person who hurt you, leaving the better portion for someone else, holding back a complaint that wants to escape, sending a message of encouragement without signing your name, cleaning a space you didn't mess, placing a note of gratitude where it will be found later. These small gestures, soft as feathers, carry enormous spiritual weight. Thérèse practiced this constantly in her convent. When a sister irritated her, she chose to serve her secretly. When someone wronged her, she hid her forgiveness inside a smile. When a duty was unpleasant, she performed it without letting her discomfort show. No one noticed, no one applauded, no one thanked her. But she knew God saw, and she believed that God gathers these hidden acts like priceless jewels in the soul. She compared them to little flowers placed before Jesus, quiet offerings of love too small for the world, yet too precious for heaven to ignore. Hidden kindness purifies intention. It frees the heart from the need for attention. It teaches the soul to love the way God loves, silently, faithfully, generously. And in that silence, a transformation happens. The ego fades, the heart softens, and your soul takes a gentle step closer to heaven. In the next block, we will uncover the fourth small action, a practice so simple that most people dismiss it, yet it was one of Saint Thérèse's greatest spiritual secrets. The fourth small action, accepting small irritations with peace. Most people imagine holiness as something grand, mountains moved, storms calmed, miracles unfolding. But Saint Thérèse discovered that one of the fastest ways to grow closer to heaven is simply this. Accept the small irritations of daily life with peace, not the big tragedies, not the overwhelming crosses, just the little grains of sand that rub against the heart 100 times a day. Why? Because those are the moments that reveal what lives inside us. Thérèse once wrote, "The smallest contradiction, the smallest remark, these are the little crosses I can offer with love." She knew that life is full of tiny frustrations. Someone speaking harshly, a delay when you're in a hurry, a chore repeated for the 5th time, noise when you want silence, a message ignored, a plan changed suddenly, a small injustice at work or at home, a forgotten thank you, a misunderstanding that stings. None of these are dramatic, but they are real, they are constant, and they have the power to disturb the peace of the heart if we let them. Thérèse's secret was not to pretend these irritations didn't hurt. Her secret was to offer them, quietly, gently, without bitterness. She would say in her heart, "Jesus, I accept this for love of you." And immediately, the irritation became something holy, a bridge, a small step upward. Accepting small irritations does not mean becoming a doormat. It means becoming free. Free from the urge to react, free from ego, free from the need to defend every emotion. It means letting God shape the heart in the tiny moments where self-love usually tries to rule. Thérèse believed that a soul who accepts the small daily trials with peace becomes like a still lake that reflects heaven more clearly. This acceptance carves space inside the heart, space where grace can flow, where gentleness can grow, where inner freedom can breathe. And the miracle. Over time, you begin to notice that the very things that used to anger or disturb you no longer have the same power. You become lighter, quieter inside, more anchored in God, closer to heaven. In the next block, we will explore the 5th small action, a gesture of love that reshapes the intention behind every step you take. The 5th small action, doing every task with pure intention. Saint Thérèse believed that the value of an action does not come from its size, its difficulty, its beauty, or the attention it receives. Its value comes from the intention behind it. She once wrote, "It is not the greatness of the action, but the love with which it is done that matters." This was the heartbeat of her little way. Pure intention means doing what you do, big or small, for God alone, without seeking praise, without seeking advantage, without calculating reward. It is the simple, childlike offering of the heart. But how does this look in the rhythm of a normal day? It looks like cooking a meal with love, not resentment, sending a message with sincerity, not obligation, working honestly even when no one is watching, listening fully instead of waiting to speak, helping someone without expecting a thank you, choosing kindness even when you're tired, doing the right thing without needing anyone to notice. Pure intention turns ordinary tasks into quiet flames of love. Thérèse practiced this in the smallest details of life. She would fold laundry with love, clean floors with love, walk slowly behind the sisters who moved too slowly, with love. Not because these tasks were extraordinary, but because God was present in them. She believed that when love is placed inside the simplest task, the task shines. This small action changes the soul from the inside. It purifies motives, it simplifies the heart, it dissolves the need to impress, it frees you from performing for the world. When you act with pure intention, your soul becomes light, transparent, peaceful. Nothing is wasted, not the smallest movement, not the slightest effort. And here is the gentle miracle Thérèse discovered. When your intention becomes pure, your life becomes prayer. Every moment, every step, every breath, every gesture begins to carry a hidden song of love. This is why pure intention brings the soul closer to heaven, because heaven is built entirely on love, and pure intention is the soul's way of learning heaven's language. In the next block, we will move into the 6th small action, one that reveals how even your weaknesses can become pathways of grace. The 6th small action, turning your weakness into an offering. Most people hide their weaknesses. They bury them, deny them, fight them, or feel ashamed of them. But Saint Thérèse of Lisieux discovered something radically different, something that reshaped her entire spiritual life. She believed that weakness is not a barrier to God. Weakness is a bridge. She once wrote, "It is my weakness that gives me all my strength." For Thérèse, the soul pleasing to God is not the strongest, nor the most disciplined, nor the most perfect. It is the soul that is small enough to let God carry it. She compared herself to a little child who falls often. But instead of hiding or becoming discouraged, the child simply lifts its arms, trusting that the Father will pick her up again. How does this look in your daily life? It looks like admitting your impatience instead of pretending you're calm, recognizing your fears without letting them define you, bringing your sadness to prayer instead of hiding it, asking God for help again and again without shame, accepting your limitations without calling yourself unworthy, letting your failures soften you, not harden you. Thérèse believed that when you offer your weakness to God, you give Him space to act. You open a window for grace. You make room for divine tenderness. She once described herself as a little bird, too weak to fly high but lifting her gaze toward the sun anyway, trusting God to lift her wings when she could not. This small action transforms the heart. It teaches humility without humiliation. It nurtures spiritual childhood. The gentle awareness that you are held, that God knows your fragility, and that He loves you not in spite of it, but through it. Weakness, offered with love, becomes a meeting place between your soul and heaven. Because when you say, "Lord, I can't, but I know you can," you speak the language of saints. This openness allows God to lift you higher than your strength ever could. In the next block, we will reveal the seventh small action, a simple daily gesture that Thérèse used to keep her heart tender and her soul aligned with God's gentle light. The seventh small action, speaking words of gentle encouragement. Saint Thérèse believed deeply in the power of words, not grand speeches, not long sermons, but small, gentle words that lift another person's spirit the way sunlight lifts the petals of a quiet flower. She understood that the soul is fragile, that the world is often harsh, and that a single sentence offered with love can become a drop of heaven in someone's weary heart. She once wrote, "A word, a smile, these are often enough to lift a soul." To her, encouragement was not flattery, it was compassion, a way of seeing another person the way God sees them, with tenderness, with hope, with understanding. What does gentle encouragement look like in real life? It looks like saying, "I believe in you" to someone who doubts themselves, telling a friend, "You're doing better than you think," leaving a kind message for someone struggling, complimenting a small effort you notice, offering a comforting word instead of judgment, whispering, "God hasn't forgotten you" to a soul in pain, using your words to heal rather than to win, encouraging yourself with compassion instead of criticism. These small sentences, tiny as seeds, carry surprising spiritual weight. In her convent, Thérèse was known for speaking gently to the sisters who felt overlooked or insecure. She would offer a quiet smile, a soft reassurance, a word of peace so small that most people would not even notice. But the heart she touched remembered. Her encouragement was not dramatic. It was intentional. She did not try to be impressive. She tried to be loving. Gentle encouragement purifies the heart because it shifts the focus from self to the good of another soul. It builds humility because it teaches us to speak softly rather than to dominate conversations. It nurtures spiritual childhood because a child's words are simple, honest, and full of affection. And it brings the soul closer to heaven because heaven speaks in this language. Quiet kindness, simple truth, tender hope. A soul that encourages others becomes a mirror of God's gentleness. In the next block, we will explore the eighth small action, a practice of spiritual clarity that helps the soul remain light, honest, and free. The eighth small action, examining your heart. With simple honesty. For Saint Thérèse, spiritual honesty was never severe, never cold, never accusatory. It was gentle, a small daily act of truth-telling between the soul and God. She believed that the heart grows closer to heaven when it learns to look at itself with tender sincerity, without fear and without self-deception. Thérèse once wrote, "I do not fear my littleness, I only fear not being honest before God." Her version of examining the heart was nothing like the harsh self-criticism many people practice today. It was simple, quiet, often done in the silence before sleep, a soft conversation between a child and her father. What does this small action look like in daily life? It looks like asking yourself, where did I love today? Noticing moments where impatience won without despairing. Admitting when you sought praise instead of love. Recognizing when you judged someone too quickly. Acknowledging a moment of jealousy, envy, or pride. Naming the small grace you received. Thanking God for a hidden strength that surprised you. This honesty is not meant to punish you. It is meant to clarify your soul, the way a gentle wind clears the dust from a window. Thérèse never examined her faults to feel shame. She examined them to become more free. She understood that God is not disappointed by a soul that struggles. He is disappointed only when a soul stops trying to love. Her nightly practice was simple. She would look back on her day and notice one thing she offered well, one thing she could offer better tomorrow, and one thing God did for her without her even asking. This small act forms humility without crushing the heart. It builds spiritual childhood, because a child does not hide from the Father. She runs to Him. It brings clarity, because the soul becomes more honest with itself, less tangled, less controlled by fear or ego. And it brings the soul closer to heaven, because heaven is built on truth, not dramatic confessions, but quiet sincerity. When you examine your heart with simple honesty, you become aware of small places where love can grow tomorrow. In the next block, we will reach the 9th and final small action, the gentle crown of the little way, and perhaps the simplest doorway to heaven. The 9th small action, trusting God in the smallest possible way. If there is a crown that completes the little way of Saint Thérèse, it is this: trust. Small, simple, childlike trust. Not trust in extraordinary miracles, not trust born of strength, not trust proven by dramatic acts of faith, but trust expressed in the smallest movements of the heart. A sigh, a whisper, a surrender so light it feels like the breath of a child resting in a father's arms. Thérèse once wrote, "To trust God is to hand Him the key to your heart." For her, trust was not an emotion. It was a decision, a small, repeated, daily offering. She described herself as a little child who falls, rises, falls again, but always holds her arms open toward God, believing He will lift her every single time. What does this small, gentle trust look like in your everyday life? It looks like whispering, "Jesus, I trust you," in moments of uncertainty, allowing God to guide what you cannot control, choosing peace instead of anxiety, even for a moment, picking up your work again after a failure, believing God is with you, even when you feel nothing, saying, "Your will be done," with sincerity, not fear, resting instead of worrying when you've done all you can, asking God for help without feeling ashamed of needing Him. Trust like this may feel small, but in heaven it is enormous. Thérèse believed that when a soul trusts God, even a tiny bit, He bends close to that soul as a father bends toward a fragile child. Trust transforms fear into openness. It transforms confusion into quiet surrender. It transforms the soul into a soft place where grace can finally land. And here is the mystery she lived. Each small act of trust becomes a step upward, a step toward heaven, a step toward peace, a step toward the heart of God. These 9 small actions are not a list of tasks. They are a rhythm, a gentle way of living, a way of seeing the world through the humble eyes of Saint Thérèse. The world chases greatness. Thérèse teaches littleness. The world chases applause. Thérèse teaches hidden love. The world chases heroic gestures. Thérèse teaches childlike simplicity. But she knew, and now you know, that heaven is reached by small steps, taken with sincerity, with tenderness, with trust. May your soul discover that these 9 small actions are more powerful than the world imagines, and that each of them brings you quietly, steadily, beautifully closer to heaven.